You're not Indian. You're not Indian. You're not Indian. No, everybody know you're a Pretendian. What's good? It's your brother YK, and welcome to another episode of Silly Things Pretendians Say. Let's play the video.
Hey y'all. So I'm gonna get all up and on this whole slave trade thing today. Just because, it's still people that's holding on to that. African American, and no shade to Africans.
Now, who wakes up and say, I'm gonna make a video today saying that the slave trade was a hoax, and here's why I don't believe in the slave trade? Who does that? Who wakes up and says, this is why I don't believe in the slave trade? Like, we're dealing with sick people here. Who does that? But we hold on to slavery the same way small hats hold on to the Holocaust. We hold on to the slave trade the same way that the real Indians hold on to the wrong that was done to their people. Like, this is what people do. Let's play the video.
Anybody else, you are what you are, but at the end of the day, we are what we are. So I just want to talk about some of the things that really just set off red flags, just alarms, that just stuff don't make no sense, right?
You always say that. It just don't make no sense. It doesn't make sense to people with no sense.
Message.
That's the problem. It doesn't make sense to those with no sense. Let's play the video.
Not only the fact of not being able to produce any kind of a ship or a boat, whatever.
You see, she had to look in the camera when she told that lie. We got the Clotilda. That is evidence of the slave trade. Illegal slave trade at that. Now, these are court cases, circuit cases, right? And you got the U.S. versus William Foster and Richard Sheridan, 1859-1860. U.S. Attorney A.J. requesting from the defendants a list of the names, date of births, residences, and description of the personnel who arrived on the Clotilda with them. So this is court cases, all right, with them. Illegally importing slaves, 10 men, 10 William, 10 boys, 10 girls. These are real court cases. And you can find this on the archives.gov. And this is the Clotilda right here. You got the ceiling, you got the hull, the outer hull, the bulkhead, and this is also in the National Register of Historic Places. So the property is Clotilda 1BA 704. So we have it. Here's the wood from it, section of the outer hull plank with the tree nail. This is the Clotilda. Okay? This is the person who, this is the ship captain, William Foster. All right? This is the newspaper article that spoke about it. The last cargo of slaves. This is 1890. All right? This is the Clotilda hidden in plain sight, 1912. All right, this is William Foster. This is Tim Meyer. And this is a document from U.S. to Africa, 1860. All right. This Cujo Lewis. This Charlie. These are Africans who came on the Clotilda. So stop saying this foolish stuff, man. The slavery is very real. The slave trade was very real. Now, this is from the cargo manifest for the Clotilda. And this is on nationalarchives.gov, right? And you can see right here, on February 27th, 1860, the schooner Clotilda, commanded by Captain William Foster, departed Mobile, Alabama, for what this document describes as St. Thomas or Market. Actually, the vessel sailed to the coast of Africa where it loaded a cargo of 103 captives for transport back to Mobile area. The ship entered Mobile Bay in early July 1860, carrying its human cargo. 52 years after the United States legally abolished the international slave trade, our holdings related to Clotilda include additional U.S. Customs Service records that document the vessel's activities, transporting cargo after its commissioning in 1855 till its voyage in 1860. Additionally, U.S. District Court and Circuit Court records document the criminal charges against the illegal voyages organizers. So this is the Clotilda. This is the ship's manifest of the Clotilda. Because it was done illegally. So we have evidence of the slave trade. But you guys love talking about ships, but you never say wooden ships. You never say what the ships were made of. You never say that wood rots. Now this is from encyclopediavirginia.org. It said at first merchants adapted general merchant vessels for the slave trade. Later they built ships to the trade's particular specifications, which included portholes for better airflow to the lower decks and copper sheathed hulls to combat the wood rot and boring worms found in tropical waters. So even with copper sheeting, the lifespan of those ships was like 13, 14 years. So this is the lifespan of the slave ships. All right. It said ships copper sheet at later time, 13 years. Ships never copper sheeted, 5 years. Ships copper sheeted from first voyage, 10 years. So these ships were not a living long. You're talking about wooden ships coming across the ocean, 4 weeks, 4 to 6 week voyages of wood being wet. And you're asking for a ship, but you want to think, or wood decays, or you got wood worms, or you got, termites. You never speak on any of those things. You know, I find it mighty strange. There's people walking around the world today, right? With no teeth in their mouth. Right? No teeth. But does it mean that they never had teeth? You got teeth decay. Same example. Do you guys even know the lifespan of a ship? We're going to talk about it. Let's play the video.
Whatever the hell for this whole slave trade thing, but just think, y'all. Just think. I really, really need y'all to just stop and think.
Let's think. We're going to think together. Let me show you how to think, okay? And I thought Dane Calloway was here to make you guys think. YK is going to make you think. Let's think. Come on, let's think together.
So allegedly, you know, in order for us to have our food and culture that we have here and have long had here, allegedly, we were supposed to have bought rice and okra and other shit in our hair.
Now, this is not allegedly, because African rice was brought from Africa. There's African rice. Do you know what African rice is? They studied the genetics of this rice, and it goes back to Africa.
And this is the traditional African rice, mupunga as it's known locally, Ariza glaberrima, or brown rice. You would not see it by 1700 or certainly not by 1720 in South Carolina, because sadly it was then supplanted by the Asian white rice, Oryza sativa, which took over very, very quickly. It first, of course, found its way to the North American continent through slavery and the movement from Africa. But then when the Asian rice came in, it was supplanted, sadly. But this is a plant with a very, very long history of commercialization. We know that it was cultivated in Mali at least 3,500 years ago, and it was probably more than that.
So stop spreading these lies, all right? Your ancestors come from Africa, whether you like it or not. Whether you like it or not, that's where they come from. Let's play the video.
Over here from Africa. Now, just think about the whole story. Now, rice and okra in your head, like this wasn't no hour or supposed to be no hour voyage or nothing. Like you just hopped in, was like, oh yeah, throw this rice in your hair, put this in okra and all this shit in your hair, and when you get there, okay, so you do that. Number one, this ain't no hour journey. You got this stuff.
Why does it matter if it's an hour journey or not? So, farmer, educator, and author Leah Penniman notes that in some cases, African women braided seeds into their hair before being forced to board transatlantic slave ships, believing against the odds in a future of sovereignty on land. Through the disgusting process that was transatlantic slavery, okra made its way from West Africa to the United States and became a staple, specifically in southern cooking, as enslavement existed for a longer period of time in the South and the warmer weather makes growing the plant more feasible. Okra is important in other diasporic cuisines as well. It is important to consider, confront, and honor the people and processes that made the plant and foods that we love so much today accessible to us.
So folks mentioned crops, both in terms of crop selection, but also how you prepare and cook the crops. So things like okra and Egyptian spinach, cotton, sesame, the black-eyed pea, eggplants, melons, rice, kale, amara kale specifically, gourd, jamaica or sorrel, spice basil, scented geranium, coffee, palm, kola nut, tamarind. These are all crops that came in the seed braids.
No matter how it got here, it's here because of the slave trade. That's the point. Even if you don't believe it came from someone's hair, it came here from the slave trade because it wasn't here prior to that. So it has to have an African origin. See, I'm here to make you think. I'm here to make you think, right? Let's take the Dane Calloway route. It has to have an African origin because it's here. And it's not from here. It's from Africa. How did it get here? That's the point.
Sitting in your hair. Now let's think. Oh, they talk about the deplorable conditions. People was throwing up and shitting, and it was rats and roaches and all kind of mice and things like that. Baby, you would have been a magnet.
Now let's think. Because you guys think, right? Let's think. Right? How many people died coming across the transatlantic? So this is from digitalhistory.edu. The transatlantic slave trade was the largest movement of people in history. Between 10 and 15 million Africans were forcibly transported across the Atlantic between 1500 and 1900. But this figure grossly understates the actual number of Africans enslaved, killed, or displaced as a result of the slave trade. At least 2 million Africans, 10 to 15%, died during the infamous Middle Passage across the Atlantic. Another 15 to 30% died during a march to or confinement along the coast. Altogether, for every 100 slaves who reached the New World, another 40 had died in Africa or during the Middle Passage. So 2 million people died. But yet you're making it as if everyone came over here. Every African made it over here. When you say things like that, you let the world know your intelligence level. Let me ask you, let me slow it down for you guys. How many Africans died coming across the transatlantic? Repeat after me. 2 million. And probably more. So when you say things like, well, it was horrible conditions and deplorable conditions, of course. And that's why millions of them died. And for you to sit here and act like this didn't happen is treason. And your ancestors is turning over in their graves because you're denying something that was so horrible. That's what makes it 10 times worse. It's because you're questioning what they went through as if it didn't happen. When the documents are there. When the Slave Trade Act is there. You guys talk about all of these treaties when it comes to the Indians, but you're not those people. You accept all the laws, but bypass the 1808. The Slave Trade Act happened because of the conditions of slavery. Because it was so bad that not only was Africans dying, Europeans were dying as well. Those prisoners, those European prisoners, they were dying. Captains dying. Africans dying. And this is why I say silly things Pretendians say. Silly things. You earned this one. Alpha Energy Goddess. You earned being on Lake's another episode of Silly Things Pretendians Say. You worked hard for this. You worked hard for the money. You worked hard for it.
Okay? Would have been toe up and disgusting. Right? But anyway.
2 million would have died. If it would, 2 million people would have died.
Okay, so after all this time on this, under these deplorable conditions on this ship that can't nobody produce, these ships and things like that.
Clotilda, wooden ships with a lifespan. Do you even know the lifespan of these ships? Do you do any research, or you just hop on TikTok and start having a rant? Do you source up? Do you show the evidence? Let me show you the lifespan of these ships.
That right? You make it over here and I guess you just knew like, the land was gonna just yield. This was gonna work. You got this moldy, shitted on right.
They didn't know where they was going. They didn't know where they was going. But they brought it just in case. Just in case. How many times you going somewhere and you just grab the closest thing that you know you're going to need to survive? Like, your argument is pointless. It's silly. You're not proving it didn't happen. You're not showing any evidence that the slave trade did not happen. You're not showing any evidence. Where's the evidence? This is what you call thinking? This is not thinking, sister.
Rice and rat chewed on, whatever. So you get here. How long you keep it in your hair? How long did you keep it in your hair after the fact? Cause they ain't just walk you straight to the wherever the hell you supposed to have went to, right? No, you don't know how long you sitting, what you got going on. Now, let's fast forward a little bit to the whole slave block, right? Situation.
She all over the place. Still, how does this disprove the slave trade? How does this disprove anything? Can anybody in the chat answer that question? How does this disprove the slave trade?
Didn't they strip them down naked and all this other stuff, right? And they being thoroughly examined, but you still got the rice and okra in your hair, right? I mean, it had to be to just be mass produced. And
what about a seed? Do you know what a seed is? Do you know how small seeds can be? I mean, what you think they had like okras in their head? Like, this lady's silly. What you think they had, like the okra plant? Or they had seeds? I mean, I don't know. I'll make it make sense.
And growing, in the way that it is, and then you don't know where you're going, but you just so happen to get to the land where you can just, grow this stuff and cook this stuff up. And
she just running her mouth, yo. The school system has failed us. And what make it so sad, this is probably somebody's mom, yo. This is sad, yo.
And just, man, it just becomes a tradition. It becomes a culture. No, it didn't become no damn culture. We already had our culture here. We have been here.
Cap, it did turn into a culture. Because there's no okra without Africa. There is no okra in your gumbo. Let me repeat it. There is no okra in your gumbo. Gumbo is a culture in the South. I know, I make it.
This dish born of necessity, bringing together a multiplicity of ingredients and ethnicities.
Dating back more than 300 years, many believe the West African slave population first created this dish out of hardship. The name gumbo derives from the word kingombo, which is Bantu for okra, popular ingredient.
There is no gumbo with no okra. Silly rabbit.
Here, we ain't bring no stuff in our hair. That don't make sense. Y'all.
No, you don't have no sense.
Y'all must stop. Stop this shit. Stop it, fucking.
No, you gotta stop it. You gotta stop getting on TikTok making a fool of yourself. You guys gotta stop getting on TikTok and actually read something. Actually source up something. We tired of you talking. That's all you guys do is talk. We don't believe you. You need more people.
You can stop it. Just think about you. It's so fucking ridiculous. Just stop. Just pause for a minute and think about how fucking laughable that shit is. Okay.
No. Let's think about how laughable this is. Let's think about the fact that y'all saying that y'all let somebody come to y'all continent and pencil whip y'all out of history. You was here for thousands and thousands of years. But the white man was able to convince your ancestors that they were African.
A bullshit. A bullshit. A bullshit. A bullshit.
Do you know how silly that sounds? Really? They were able to put you in a school and completely erase your ancestors' memories. Make it make sense. Because even slavery couldn't do this. Because we still have culture. We still have language trickling down. But you guys have nothing of indigenous culture. No indigenous genealogy. And when you do your damn genealogy, you was owned by some Indians. You was your ancestors was freedmen and shit. It's laughable. When you look at the narratives, it's Africa this, Africa that. When you take your DNA, it's Africa this, Africa that. When you read the books, it's Africa this, Africa that. Your own damn peoples wasn't saying they was always here. They were saying, nah, my grandmother came from Africa. My great-great-grandmother came from Africa. Or my grandmother was stolen on a boat. How many of your ancestors said we was already here? That's new shit. That's new Dane Calloway shit. Nobody wasn't saying that back then. None of my peoples was saying they was already here. Y'all just repeating some shit. Cause y'all, it sound good.
Okay, so let's fast forward and let's talk about Miss Harriet Tubman, the fainter, right?
See how I knew that I just said Dane Calloway, and she just brought up Harriet Tubman. I just said Dane Calloway, we was already here. Now she bringing up, let me guess, Harriet Tubman not real, right? She was just a train conductor. Let's let the world know how foolish you are.
Let's talk about her, and the reason why I want to talk about her is because it was.
And once again, who just decides to make a video about the slave trade and Harriet Tubman? Who do you people work for, man?
Recently, I heard somebody was saying, did you know that Harriet Tubman was knocking babies out? Like, punching them and just knocking them out so that they could be quiet on the way. Now, in the movies...
Yo, what the hell? Oh, yeah, this gotta be by far the silliest, the Pretendian I've come across. I know y'all gonna have a field day in these comment sections, bruh. Harriet Tubman was knocking the babies out. Jesus Christ.
And all this other stuff. You see pregnant women and people was giving birth along the routes. Baby, you go and punch a newborn baby if you want to.
Yo, I really don't want to play no more of this. Because I think the sister kind of got like, I don't know, a lot of these Pretendians, they kind of got like some mental issues or something. Like, Harriet Tubman is documented. There's primary sources of Harriet Tubman. There's primary sources of white people helping Harriet Tubman. So we're not even going to talk about that. Like, and if y'all want to continue, I can't do no more, man. This is one of the ones where I don't even want to play anymore. Let me just keep going. Fuck it.
And see how that work out. Just go knock them out. Go knock out babies. You You be worried about grown people having concussions and stuff like that. But we supposed to sit here and think that...
Who says she knocked out a baby? Am I missing something here? Yeah. Y'all heard about Harriet Tubman knocking out babies? I'm dumb right now, yo.
Oh, these babies was crying, so she would just bow. Just shut up, baby. How many times along the route?
This lady is crazy. Now, I'm pretty sure they had their routes figured out where they wasn't like the white men wasn't on their trails like that. Harriet Tubman was different. Like, she was different. So I don't think they had to move like that, where they had to knock out babies. That's foolish.
Did you just haul off and knock a baby out?
And why do you keep repeating that? What's wrong with you? It sounds like you kind of get a kick out of babies getting knocked out. You might need to seek some help for that, sister.
Just TKO her.
Look, and she keep repeating. Yeah, something wrong.
You out here just knocking out babies.
And she said it again. Say it one more time.
That sounds like a psychopath. That sounds crazy.
That sounds like you. You the one repeating it. You're the one repeating that. Because I never heard of it.
And to see to this day, people still like, are you? What's wrong with you?
Now, speaking of Harriet Tubman, right? Harriet Tubman fought along my third great grandfather. So for you to say that, she was fake or whatever, shame on you. Because I got documents where my ancestors fought with Harriet Tubman. And they freed 700 slaves. With the Combahee River raid. Yes, my ancestor was there. So for you to say that she was a hoax, shame on you. But I'm not going to curse you out, though. I know you're not wrapped too tight, really.
What's wrong? What is wrong with y'all?
No. What's wrong with you, lady?
Stop it. This woman wasn't TKOing no damn
and she keeps saying it, bruh.
Babies. So anyway, that's my kick for the day.
I told you. I just said it, and I swear I didn't watch the end of this video. I swear I said it sounds like she getting a kick out of this. And what did she say? What did she say, guys?
My kick for the day.
What did she say?
That's my kick for the day.
What she said?
Anyway, that's my kick for the day.
That's her kick for the day. Because who wakes up and say, the slave trade just don't make any sense. Harriet Tubman don't make any sense. Unless you was some type of Israelite in the past, some type of heavenly indoctrinated Christian in the past, where you have always been taught to deny Africa because it goes against your biblical narrative. And I bet you if I go to your channel, you had some type of indoctrination prior to we was already here. Prior to this Dane Calloway indoctrination. I bet you. Let me see.
Saw a girl come on here and say that if you are vibing high enough and if your third eye is activated enough, it is actually magnetic. So I have to test this out. I have this bobby pin. I have nothing. It's not sticking to, well, it's sticking to that part of my body, but yeah.
So I'm going to test with these two things, hair clips. One is a little bit less heavy. This one is a bit more heavy. So we'll see. We will start with the less heavy first. Here you go. I can even dance with it. Yep. crap.
See, even a white girl, third eye is magnetic, and she's supposed to not even have melanin. Hold that L.